Okay, so here we are on Why the Dalai Lama Matters. This book is a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I like it myself. I do. I don't always like books. When I write, you never want to finish. Finally, there's a deadline, and the editor comes and takes it away from you. And then you can't do any more with it, and then I should have fixed this and that. And then when you read it out loud, you freak out because it didn't say the other. But I like this one. It's really fun. It's my first time of doing a kind of political book, a little bit with a little political element. Maybe because there was a subtle burden on me for many years from the Dalai Lama to do a book like this, with a sort of little bit helping out the political thing, A, I'm sort of mainly a philosophical, interested in Buddhism sort of type of person. And B, because of Tibet House, we're supposed to really be worrying about the culture and saving the culture. So, although I give talks at rallies in Tibetan to the Tibetans, about, not to lose heart, and so I give political talks like that. And I get into it when I get into Buddhist ethics. And like I have a talk I used to give, Buddhist ethics and the world crisis. And I gave that in Mississippi, Oklahoma, Illinois, and I didn't get burned at the stake. Although my host in Mississippi said, don't get carried away, you got the Volvo crowd. You didn't get the pickup truck crowd. So he said not to get overexcited. But I had an ovation in Oxford, Mississippi. I was very happy. Okay, so what I'm doing in this book is, it's my contribution to this year, which is a kind of year of the Tibetans, or year of Tibet. It's the 49th year since the 1959 uprising when His Holiness Dalai Lama had to escape. And not the 50th, but they just couldn't stand it and wait another year. And also the Olympics, because China was really trying to polish its image. The Tibetans jumped up and said, well, they have to deal with this little bit of tarnish over here, which is how they've been treating us for 60 years. And we were kind of shocked. We expected this from the Tibetan exile community, but we were very shocked that the Tibetans in Tibet put their lives in jeopardy, ruined their monastic careers, lost control of their monasteries, many things that are happening to them as we sit here right now, because they stood up and protested. And there was a bit of violence in Lhasa, where they're sort of shut out of their livelihoods by the vast influx of Chinese merchants who have taken over all the small businesses in Lhasa. And I think they did get overboard there, although there also may have been some agent provocateur, which would be standard operating procedure for the Chinese administration there to do that. But mostly at 178 different demonstrations at the count of about a month and a half ago, all but one or two had no violence from the Tibetan side. All of them had violence from the Chinese People's Armed Police side. They shot at the crowds, they shot civilians, they beat up monks, etc. And we still haven't heard. The earthquake was in Tibetan territory. That's the Tibet Autonomous, Wenchuan is the Tibet Autonomous Prefecture of Sichuan. And there were a lot of Tibetans there who had been arrested, monks, and were in that prison in that town where the epicenter was, which supposedly fell down. And we don't know, because they're not releasing. They want to get all the sympathy for the Chinese, which deserve it, who deserve it. We're very sorry about it, everyone is. We're not making Sharon Stone type comments at all, but still, we'd like to know which Tibetans and how many of them were killed, but they're not saying that actually right now. We just hope all the monks in that prison were in the prison yard at the time, that's all we hope. Not under any roof, because all the roofs fell down because of the lousy architecture when they do these rapid frontier building in their colonizing campaign in Tibet. They don't build the way the Tibetans did for earthquakes with big stones and no mortar, so it can kind of rumble around in earthquakes, because Tibet is an earthquake zone. That's where the Indian plate comes diving under the Asian plate, pushing up the Himalayas. The Earth's crust there, the crust of the Earth is double thickness in Tibet. The only place on the planet's surface where the crust is double thick. But it's all pushing up and rumbling, and so Tibet is like that. Anyway, so I didn't know we would have such an explosion inside Tibet. We just expected this among the exiled. But I myself have been kind of, since last summer, getting upset about the situation, and also for two directions, because I feel that the Dalai Lama is even misunderstood by many Tibetans who think that his request for autonomy, genuine and realistic autonomy from China, they feel it's a kind of surrender of the Tibetan demand for and right to independence, rather than so they don't really understand what is meant by his middle way. I think many Tibetan supporters and Tibetans don't understand that, and I wanted them to understand that it is a middle way between just fruitlessly shouting independence and getting nowhere and surrendering completely, which would be just give up the whole thing. The middle way is a virtual independence within Tibet, you know, with all that they need inside the country and the support of China, although it is ceding sovereignty to China. But it is not acceding to the false claim that Tibet has always belonged to China. That is, of course, false, and it does not accede to that. And this is why the Chinese are not satisfied with it and claim the Dalai Lama is still kind of trying to split the country and all this and blah, 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 you know, like they do in their propaganda. So I wanted to straighten that out from that side. And then on the Chinese side, I wanted to introduce in here the point that has been lost, I'm afraid, for the most part, which is that Dalai Lama, he likes the Chinese. He likes them. And many Tibetans like them too. And they like the food and the cooking, and they like the art, and they like the brocades, and they wear them on their jackets, and they stopped fighting with the Chinese back when they had an empire like 1,000 years ago, and they became Buddhists. So, oh, I'm sorry, I have my sunglasses. Oh my God. I forgot. Well, I don't have my other glasses here. They're in the bag in the other room. I forgot that I had them. I'm sorry. But I haven't been listening to jazz, and I'm not stoned. I'm just wearing my sunglasses. Suddenly realized I had them. So, actually, I probably look better with them, because my eyes are not going different directions. So, but it's accidental. Anyway, so the Chinese have gotten the idea, partly by their propaganda, and partly by the emotions of the Tibetans and Tibet supporters, who, you know, are really following Dalai Lama in nonviolence and seeking dialogue. But when they protest or go to a demonstration, they get upset, and then they start going, you know, China or Tibet, and then there's blood and dripping, and because they've all, I mean, on their shirts and things, you know. And they've all suffered terribly and lost their grandparents, and their great uncles, and their land, and their country. So then they start getting emotional and sort of like generalize the oppression to all of the Chinese people, which of course many of them totally don't know what's going on. But this then makes it where the Chinese propagandists can say, oh, the Tibetans are trying to just harm China. Dalai Lama is trying to split China. But Dalai Lama is not trying to split China. Dalai Lama is trying to help China. He's not even against the leadership. He wants to help them if they would see the light, you know. You know, always in a Buddhist approach, when something is going wrong and there's someone doing, you know, in the immortal words of our like pretend president, when there's some evildoers around, then it is the evildoer that the Buddhist is most sympathetic toward. If they're doing evil to someone, they're also sympathetic to them, because of course they're getting harmed. But if they're still happy, then it doesn't really harm them that much from the Buddhist evolutionary point of view. In other words, if someone kills me and I die really happy, then I get a better life. Next life maybe I'll be lucky enough to be female, the more intelligent form of human being, and the less like chauvinist weirdo like male I had to deal with being that, you know. My goodness. Well, my life, I've been getting a little bit trained after 41 years of marriage, but still, I still have all those tendencies. And maybe I'll be born in California instead of New York, you know, who knows? And, or maybe I'll be Chinese and become a scholar of Confucianism or Chinese Buddhism and attain enlightenment in the Chan monastery, who knows? Point is, if you die happy, the point is to be happy, no matter what happens to you. The evildoer type is harming people, creating terribly bad karma for themselves, their former future life. They will really suffer. From a Buddhist point of view, they will really suffer. You know, even especially the ones who give the orders, the weirdos who get all hepped up on a battlefield. In a way, they're just following orders. They're scared for their own lives. It's unavoidable for them, almost, from Buddhist perspective. But the ones who give the orders to have the people killed or to invade this place and that, they're really the objects of sympathy from the Buddhist point of view. Very much. I know that's strange, but they really are. So to be able to switch one of them like in the ancient time, Ashoka, the Indian Emperor Ashoka, became the greatest supporter of the Dharma. And he, before, in his youth, was known as Kala Ashoka, which means cruel Ashoka. He executed many people, and he made war and caused tremendous death and destruction. He was really bad news. Very rough type, creating his empire. Then afterwards, he met this monk who wouldn't speak to him while he was on his throne, made him get down off his throne, and like taught him about ethics. And he became the great Ashoka who supported the Dharma in India hugely. And he built thousands of stupas and supported monasteries, and also supported people in other religions, because Buddhists do that. And so he